Like, let's just take a couple of examples. Tina Peters is this woman who is about to get out of prison, thanks in large part to the president's good work in Colorado. This is a woman who, at worst, if you believe everything that the prosecutors said about her, committed misdemeanor trespassing, and somebody threw the book at her. This innocent grandmother was going to spend 10 years in prison, completely disproportionate to any misdemeanor trespassing.
This vice president is a bald-faced liar. He is lying to the American people. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Today we'll be talking about this whole situation with people from January 6th getting reparations from Trump. He's setting up a whole slush fund for them to get $1.8 billion. And it's crazy to me because we still have people living to this day that suffer from Jim Crow, suffer from experiments from this government, that haven't received a dime yet. And it doesn't look like Trump is interested in paying these people out. So we're going to dig into it, and I hope y'all enjoy it. Of course, I'm going to provide y'all with my opinion, and I'm going to provide a few extra resources there. So it's going to be a little bit longer than usual. So, yeah.
So the number I've put in is $30 million. $21.5 million is for the wrongful imprisonment.
People who took part in January 6 are hoping for big payouts.
We endured a lot. Our lives are still not the same. So I don't know what kind of price you can put on that.
Even before the DOJ announced its so-called Anti-Weaponization Fund this week. How long were you in prison for?
Jail and prison, I combine those numbers, 1,075 days.
People like Brandon Fellows had already begun making claims for compensation. What's the reaction within the wider...
In case you want to know, a little over 3 years he spent in jail and prison, and we're going to get into his charges and what he actually did a little bit later into this video.
January 6 community to this fund.
Some people are whining and saying it's not enough, and we're not even hearing numbers yet.
Fellows was sentenced on felony and misdemeanor charges for entering the Capitol on January 6.
Yeah, we went in there.
Seen here in a red beard costume, Fellows spoke to CNN's Ellie Reeve during the riot.
But they were smoking a bunch of weed in there.
The charges against him were dismissed after a pardon from President Trump. Now Fellows expects compensation.
According to ChatGPT and Grok, and also my knowledge of January 6 cases, I'm in at least the 3 to 5% upper tier for how terrible and also how strong of a case I have.
It's like surreal.
And that's crazy for him to say that, because he didn't only just walk into the Capitol and, did all those illicit things within, offices and whatnot like that, partaking in recreational drugs and whatnot. He acted out in court in several different ways. You can look this information up. Matter of fact, I'll put it up on the screen now, exactly what he did and what his charges were. And you can judge for it yourself. These are straightforward charges. This dude literally walked through a broken window. He knew that that area was restricted. He knew that this was the Capitol and that they were certifying the election within this building. For him to pretend like he was just let in is a complete lie. And there's going to be several lies in this video that I'm going to expose from this Trump administration and their supporters.
Real to me. I mean, look how angry I look.
Rachel Powell, a mom of 8 and a grandmother to 8, spent 3 years under house arrest. We interviewed her before she began her prison sentence in 2024.
I don't deserve this, and my kids don't deserve it. Like, have we not been through enough?
She was really...
I hate they try to humanize these people, especially on CNN and these mainstream media outlets. This lady was literally seen breaking the window of the Capitol, with our representatives in there certifying the election. There's a reason why Trump asked these people to go to the Capitol. This lady literally broke a window into the Capitol and entered into the building. This is government property. If this was any other entity that was opposite Trump, he would be persecuting these people to the highest order.
Last year after being pardoned by Trump.
What do you say to people who are outraged and say people like you don't deserve a penny?
A lot of people don't agree with what happened on January 6th. But when you step back and you look at somebody like me, for example, my major felony had to be struck down by the Supreme Court. It's my crime that day of breaking a window. Technically, that's a misdemeanor charge.
You literally see her breaking into our Capitol during government procedures. This is not just simply breaking a window. The context around why you're breaking that window matters. You get what I'm saying? It's not, you can't just break a window at the White House while the president is in there and just say, I just broke a window. No, you broke the window at the White House with the president inside. That accrues extra charges. You can't just say that's a misdemeanor. The context matters, especially in the legal system.
And yet I had 3 years of a house arrest, then having to endure everything I did through prison and getting a 5-year sentence on top of that. That's clearly weaponization.
Brandon Fellows
It's
still
not.
believes the lies about the 2020 election and even believes that January 6 was a setup.
But that's why I rationalize people, even violent people, getting paid for that day, because the government set it up.
And this is what they're going to put out there. This is what they're stress testing in the media right now, whether or not violent people, the people that actually attacked police officers, the people that actually injured police officers that day, should they get reparations? Should they get paid off by the Trump administration? And let alone the way Trump got this money is completely insane to me, but we're going to get into that.
And also on top of that, they stole the election.
And both Fellows and Powell remain loyal to President Trump and thankful for the so-called Anti-Weaponization Fund.
And I feel like he has kept us in his mind, despite all the other issues that he's got to deal with as leader of the world, basically.
Are you thankful to the president?
Of course, I'm thankful. If it wasn't for the president, I'd still be sitting in that prison.
Some of these cases, January 6th, there was some.
As she should be. I mean, like, she was one of the people breaking into the Capitol. Like, you have to recognize this as a serious issue. Like, if you get a misdemeanor for breaking into the Capitol while our representatives are certifying an election, that's a concern, let alone getting paid off for doing it. Like, I don't know, man. Y'all wild.
Very bad actors. There's no doubt about that. But there were other people who, if you look at the entire federal system throughout the United States of America, who got punished in a way that was much more harsh than typically people. I mean, besides there was a handful of people.
I'm tired of people saying this, and you could tell this is triggering me a little bit. They keep saying typically. This wasn't a typical situation. You have to look at the situation that these people were in and put themselves in. This wasn't a typical situation. This was at our United States Capitol while we were certifying an election. At the same time, our president was pushing false electors and demanding that our vice president accepted those false electors. This was a pressure campaign from our president at that time. I don't see how anybody else don't see this. Like, all those conspiracy theorists on the right or the left or anywhere, how do they not see the connection between all these things?
Did horrible things, but the majority of them was trespass. It was trespass. The majority was they went somewhere where they weren't supposed to go. That's a crime.
No, they were part of a mob. They were part of a mob.
But that's no,
That's an incredible statement you just made. Look, that they just went somewhere like they went to the local 7-Eleven.
But I'm talking about.
This is the capital of the United States.
Listen. I think it was the worst day in American history. So 9/11 was the worst day in American history. But this is a horrible, horrible day. I'm not defending what happened that day. I'm being a lawyer. I'm not talking about the politics.
Okay.
I'm talking about what they were charged with and what their ultimate sentences were. There were people who were held in solitary confinement for trespass. There were people who killed themselves in prison over this. And the president has the...
And that's another red flag. When somebody brings up the solitary confinement thing, it was COVID lockdowns that they're mentioning. Like, if you look into any of the situations that surround, the actual solitary confinement with January 6ers, it was in the middle of COVID lockdowns, and Washington, D.C. prisons and D.C. prisons had like a COVID lockdown solitary confinement situation that I don't necessarily support, and that a lot of Democrats didn't support either. But it happened. It was not ideal, but it wasn't for political reasons by any means. It was non-January 6ers in there getting solitary confinement for COVID reasons. I don't like for these guys to sit here and make the accusation that they were in solitary confinement for political reasons, which they wasn't.
January 6th,
the person who's written a lot about mass incarceration, when I look across all of the ways that the Justice Department has punished people who did not deserve to be punished, put them in what'd you say, solitary confinement, all the things. You think that this group of people deserves $1.8 billion.
But I don't think it's limited to this group of people. As far as I know, I think Biden's son can go and ask for this, say, hey, I was targeted by the Justice Department. I need my money back.
How was he targeted? Hold on. How was he targeted by the Justice Department?
I'm not saying it would be a viable claim, but I don't think the way I read the press release, it's just
So you don't
January
see this as
6th.
obscene. You don't see this as obscene. I see it as absolutely obscene. No.
It's. I would agree with
That's
the
a word
first.
with a definition.
With the
Do you
first,
see it
with
as
the
obscene
first
or not?
senator, it's a little beyond the pale of normalcy.
It's
How about
obscene.
that?
Let me go back one step, because this is a perfectly good debate about why would you pay money to people who are convicted criminals. There is a system already to deal with those issues. But let's just talk about...
Yeah, and he makes a point. Like, there's already a system within our justice system for people to file civil rights complaints, to file legal complaints, to file lawsuits if they feel that they were wronged by the government. There's already a system in place. The people that actually should be getting reparations are the people that didn't have access to that system. Like people that suffered from Jim Crow, people that suffered from the Tuskegee experiments, things like that. How is that so hard to understand? The people that suffered from January 6th, if they feel like they have a case, they can bring that case forward. They should not be getting paid by a slush fund that Trump allegedly got, I should say.
The fact that we have a quote-unquote settlement for $1.8 billion. This is, let's leave aside that it's collusive because the plaintiff and the defendant are the same person.
Yeah, that's not typical.
But then let's just, so one of the...
And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say illicitly, because Donald Trump literally sued himself, and they dropped the lawsuit and just got a payout from the IRS, our tax dollars, for $1.8 billion. I think it's 1776. The QAnon website and movement that set up this whole January 6th situation, including the Proud Boys. Nobody's making this connection, not even mainstream media. And it's crazy to me.
Reasons you know it's collusive is not just that they're the same party. Donald Trump himself said this when he brought the case, saying, I know this is odd because I'm on both sides.
Exactly.
But let's look at the merits of the case. The merits of the case were, and this was in front of the federal judge who had it in Florida, was that there was no case. The reason the IRS general counsel quit is obvious, because the IRS is defending the IRS, the public, for the same type of violations and claims that are made by Donald Trump. But here, when it's Donald Trump, they pay out the money. The clear...
And the crazy thing is, Donald Trump did not have a case because it passed the 2-year limit that he had. Like, he had 2 years to press this case for the leak of his tax returns being leaked out by some guy, I think in 2023. He had 2 years, but he pressed this claim a year too late, and he didn't even have a case strictly because of that fact. But the IRS still chose to pay out Donald Trump because Donald Trump has control of the federal government. So he was literally suing himself at this point. This is corruption at its core, and he's using this opportunity to pay off his supporters, the people that supported him on January 6th, his own personal army at this point, the people that committed violence in his name. He's paying these people off. Forget the actual people that suffered under the government. Forget the people that actually suffered and didn't get any payout that should get a payout. He's paying out the people that he feel like is going to do this for him again. He's setting all this stuff up for another January 6th.
way that this case should have been dismissed is it was not brought timely. It was supposed to be made within 2 years. Do you know how much money that means that the public would owe Donald Trump? Zero. And zero is a lot less than $1.8 billion.
It's not Donald Trump who's getting the money, correct?
But that's irrelevant.
Oh, well,
because the money
you
is
said it's
styled.
getting to
The
Donald
money
Trump.
is styled.
Some people have argued
it's not going in his
that
pocket.
it's
That's
his
different than
allies,
him not
that
getting
he's
it.
able to then reward allies. What do you think about that with the $1.8 billion?
Well, again, according to the fund, the way it's written is it's not supposed to go to Donald Trump's allies. It's going to be a process. There's going to be people appointed by, I think, members of Congress, members of the executive branch.
The vice president stood up on stage and said the only people who haven't gotten any sympathy were the people who had stormed the Capitol and voted for Donald Trump. The vice president was saying that these were going to be Trump voters and people who stormed the Capitol for him.
On the question.
Yeah, let's see exactly what the vice president said about this. I said I would be bringing up other clips, so let's take a look.
some of whom have been prosecuted completely disproportionate to any crime they've ever committed. Like, let's just take a couple of examples. Tina Peters is this woman who is about to get out of prison, thanks in large part to the president's good work in Colorado. This is a woman who, at worst, if you believe everything that the prosecutors said about her, committed misdemeanor trespassing, and somebody threw the book at her. This innocent grandmother was going to spend 10 years in prison, completely disproportionate to any misdemeanor trespassing.
This vice president is a bald-faced liar. He is lying to the American people. This Tina lady, I remember that case, and she did all types of shady stuff around the election. She actually tried to rig the election in favor for Trump. She turned off security cameras. She allowed people to come within the voting offices and use software to look at the voting tabulations and everything like that. Like, she did all types of shady stuff within those elections within the state, and she had a bunch of state-level charges. So when he's bringing up this lady, yes, he's talking about the federal charges. But as far as the state level charges, that's why she was really in jail. Like, don't let this guy fool you. Just look it up. Look up her name. I'm going to put up her charges up here while I'm speaking on this. But yes, she did not just do trespassing. Do not let this vice president lie to y'all. She has all types of shady stuff going on, especially when it comes to the way she ran the elections in her state. Just look at this information.
That I've ever seen. Was that fair? No. Is it reasonable for her to get some compensation for the fact that she was treated unfairly? I think the answer is yes. And I think that what we're going to see, hopefully, is the entire country, led by this Department of Justice, turning the page on the law.
Oh my God, this vice president is talking about paying this lady for attempting to rig the election in favor for another president that didn't win. You letting this guy play in y'all face.
Of who this would be. We do have a clip from Todd Blanche talking to CNN today about who this would be and if it would be people who assaulted cops. This is what he said.
One of the factors the commissioners have to consider is what the claimant did, the claimant's conduct, okay? So in the hypothetical you just described, the claimant would have to say, I assaulted a cop and I want money. So whether the commissioners will give that person money, that claimant, it's up to them. But that's one of the factors they have to consider for the very reason that was raised yesterday, which should be raised, which is that President Trump, this Department of Justice, does not stand for assaulting law enforcement.
So we still don't have a clear...
But Trump pits the people who decides on who gets this money. Like Trump and the person that was just talking, Todd Blanche, they decide who gets this money. And Blanche is literally Trump's former personal attorney. This is crazy. Like, these two guys actually pit the people who decides on who gets the money. And Trump has the ability to get rid of anybody on that council or board or whatever you want to call it. He has the ability to fire any and everybody whenever he sees fit. There's no oversight on this. This is crazy.
Your answer. There's clearly not a, if you assaulted a cop, you can't apply. You can. It's the commissioners who, again, can be fired by Donald Trump, the president, at any moment. And they get to decide who this would be. We also have reporting now that the head of the Proud Boys is going to apply for this restitution.
Look, you can be very reluctant to say that nobody deserves restitution for things that happened in the Biden administration. I'm reluctant to say that, and also acknowledge that this is obviously a gimmick designed to advantage the president's political allies, not necessarily financially, but certainly ideologically. It's not just $1.8 billion, it's $1.776 billion, because it's definitely not a gimmick. However,
he's tied it to the 250th anniversary, right?
Right. However, the president does have a point insofar as what he's doing is not necessarily unprecedented if you're talking about rewarding your ideological allies. What Joe Biden did, very end of his presidency.
How did he reward his allies? Joe Biden?
Joe Biden? I'm about to tell you. At the end of his presidency, DOJ, an ethics attorney, in writing, said, Joe Biden, you cannot say that you have pardoned nonviolent drug offenders. It is, quote, untrue, at the very least misleading. And that's exactly what he did. He said, I'm going to flatten individuals, render them just an avatar of a tribe, and say you're all pardoned and commuted, and this is all nonviolent drug offenders. It was not true. To say nothing of the fact that you had fraudsters, this Cuyahoga County guy, the cash for cars judge who was imprisoning judge. But leave that all aside.
But two wrongs make a right. I mean, let's assume that you're...
that's irrelevant to what's going on right now. It's literally the MyPillow guy out here saying that he's going to apply for getting money. Is nobody that really deserves to get reparations from this government actually going to get this money. It's going to be everybody that's friendly to Trump and his administration that actually did the dirty work for him. Like, let's be clear.
Let's assume everything that you said is true.
It is true.
So
Go check my fact.
Let's assume that. How does that make what's happened we're talking about correct?
It doesn't. And what I'm frustrated by is the degree to which you hear from some on the left when you say things that are consistent. Oh, this is obfuscation. How does that make it right? No, what I'm saying is consistent revulsion to the abridgment of procedure, of law, and the diminution of the rule of law in this country is something we should oppose wherever it comes from. And it came from the Biden administration. And it's coming from
Another category of things.
I sure am.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden didn't pay off nonviolent drug offenders. You have to understand the gymnastics that this guy just pulled. He tried to equate what Trump is doing to Biden pardoning nonviolent drug offenders, or saying that he did. You get what I'm saying? So where's the payout? You're not admitting to any type of payout that Biden put out there to any affected group that would seemingly be supportive of his administration politically or otherwise. Like, you haven't put that out there. So to say that you're having a valid argument here is not right. Like, I don't understand where this guy is even coming from with his argument.
Purposefully did not pick a attorney general that was going to do whatever he said. And frankly, we were criticized by the left on a lot of investigations because people thought we weren't bringing them too fast, because we weren't doing that.
DOJ about what he was doing at the end of his term.
Let me tell you the process. The pardon attorney, their role is to make recommendations to the President of the United States on who should be pardoned. That is a recommendation. It is up to the President of the United States on who to pardon. Did the Justice Department know that Joe Biden was going to pardon his family? Absolutely not. Did the Justice Department know that Joe Biden was going to pardon the January 6th committee? Absolutely not. Would the Justice Department recommend that? Absolutely not. But that is very different.
Then you know better than I.
That is very different than the Attorney General.
Yeah, but this is a completely different situation when we have the president essentially suing his own government to get a slush fund to pay out his political allies. That is a level of corruption that if Biden did, there will be revolts across this country. We just went through a whole 4 years of the Republican Party calling Biden corrupt because of weird connections that he might have had between his son and Ukraine. But Donald Trump is creating a whole slush fund for his political allies in front of the American public using our tax dollars. The Republican Party is acting like this is something normal. It's not.
The United States, the Trump's personal lawyer, essentially negotiating a settlement with Donald Trump's attorney to help his allies and give $1.8 billion of taxpayer money to his friend.
And the procedure,
the Biden administration did not do that.
Yes, and the violation of the procedure is bad, and it's bad when the Biden administration does it and when the Trump administration does it. And you know better than I, Sochi, that in writing.
But there's different levels to this stuff. If you want to say that the Biden violated procedure, fine. But when you have taxpayers' money involved, $1.8 billion of taxpayers' money involved, that is a whole different level of somebody going beyond the policy of taking the Justice Department's recommendations on pardons. How is this even in the same world?
The Justice Department said Joe Biden did not give members of Congress who sought to advise this process the time to have
I wonder if we could go back to what we're here to discuss, because it sounds to me like we may be in violent agreement. I don't hear anyone saying that this is not sort of a fig leaf for a settlement, that the plaintiff and the defendant were on the same side, and that there were valid arguments that the IRS could have asserted. So that seems like I don't hear anyone disagreeing with that's point one, which is the $1.776 billion is sort of conjured up as a way as a fig leaf to get that money. And I don't hear anyone saying that maybe there are some small quantum of people that, not just people in J6, but a whole range of people who could deserve restitution. But if you're planning on doing this wholesale, as the president just said in the clip you played, that this was a grave national injustice and we're going to be paying all of their legal fees. And remember, he pardoned them all en masse. He did not do a triage. So I don't hear anyone here at the table saying that they would disagree with the commission saying, oh, you know what, we're going to give huge amounts of money to people who attacked police officers and did more than just trespass.
Right. It sounded like Todd Blanche was saying that that's not what the president wants, that he's on the record as saying he's not supportive of anyone.
But that hasn't stopped the president before, and that hasn't stopped anybody around the president. Like, they have said things and went back on exactly what they said. This is the same president of no more new wars. This is the same president of decreasing inflation. This is the same president of dropping the price on groceries. This is the same president on decreasing the price of energy. None of these things have happened. He's done the opposite, actually. So we can't trust what the president says. We can only trust the pattern that he's put out there. And the pattern shows that he's going to go against whatever he actually says.
Attacking a police officer. I just want to talk about the two officers who brought the lawsuit.
He did pardon.
He's already pardoned the people who
I
attacked police
understand.
officers.
There's a difference between pardoning them. They already did their jail time. So there's a difference between
They haven't
pardoning
done it
them.
all.
Okay, but they did a 4
They haven't
years
done it
ago,
all.
3 years. The two officers who said they were bringing a lawsuit, and I'll defer to Andrew. I might.
You saw how fast he made an excuse for Trump pardoning the people that attacked police officers. He just flipped the script so quick. These guys have no backbone at all. They can't stand for anything but for Trump.
My colleagues here, I don't think they have standing to bring a lawsuit. You have to be harmed. So the fact that there's money that's going to people that could harm them, there's not a controversy. To bring a case, there's got to be some controversy. It can't be, there might be a controversy. This might lead to somebody harming me. So I think on a summary judgment motion, if they bring that lawsuit, it'll be dismissed.
We have to go to break, but quick question just for my clarification. But what if they were there that day and were emotionally harmed? Does that count?
So I actually agree that the argument for standing, because it turns out, like, not every taxpayer could say, oh, I want to sue because you're using my taxpayer money. That's under the law, it would be basically opening up the courts to just myriad lawsuits. So here I agree that the reason that these people say they're individually hurt is pretty weak.
True. And what he's basically saying is that it'll be very hard for somebody to actually sue the government for doing something like this. It'll be very hard for us to even sue the administration for using our taxpayer dollars like this. You get what I'm saying? So it's crazy that the Trump administration is out here looking to pay out all of these corrupt, fraudulent, and violent people just because they seem to be in support of his politics. This is a political payout. We've seen Elon Musk pay people to vote for Trump. We've seen all types of people try and rig the election for Trump. We've seen a whole slate of false electors being sent to the Capitol while these people are attacking the Capitol, pressuring the vice president to accept those false electors. We've seen all these things happen at the same time. Why should these people get a payout for trying to insurrect our government? Because they were misled by the president. And we have a whole group of people out here that actually deserve reparations. People who are still alive from the Jim Crow days. I hope more and more people are paying attention to stuff like this, because this man and his administration needs to get kicked out of the White House. We need to vote in whoever is looking to press charges, impeach, remove people, whatever needs to be done to stop all this. We need to do it ASAP. And yeah, get out there and vote. Like, that's all I gotta say about that. I hope y'all enjoyed my video, and I'll see y'all next time.